lost all control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I've got you now for an hour or right around thereabouts. Almost, kind of, depends on the day. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less, but I forgot to do the chat thing, didn't I? I knew I was forgetting something. I was sitting there staring around and looking around like, do I got everything going? Did I miss something? I did. I missed the on-screen chat thing. So I'm doing it right now, ladies and gentlemen, on the fly. That's how we roll here on the portal. Boom. There, it should be working now. So welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. Hope you're doing great. Happy Thursday. Anything right up front? There's a couple things right up front that I think are pretty cool. And the first of which is I want to just announce that our very own Black Tree, Julia, is doing a channel of her own, and I thought it'd be fun to promote that a little bit. So she does Black Tree Tarot, and she does live streams. She's going to be doing one tomorrow where she will do some tarot readings for people that are watching the stream. And so just go over there and make sure to subscribe to her and support what she's doing, because she's been an amazing friend to us here on the portal, and it's the least we can do is to, try to promote what she's doing. So that, of course, is wonderful, and we definitely want, as many of you guys to go over there and take a peek at what she's up to. It's not easy doing a show. I mean, it's not an easy thing, but it really makes it worthwhile when people show up and participate. I've done shows for like a handful of people or 3 people before. I mean, when we first started out, it was, just a few people would come into the stream, and it was, it was a little, I mean, it was fine. We did what we did, and we would celebrate every new bump in viewership. But I know it's great when people have stepped up to help us out on the portal here, and many people have. And it's been amazing. So it's our pleasure to return that favor to other people that are trying to do their own channels. So definitely check out Julia's. She'll put a link. I think you'll put a link in the description, right? I'll do this. I don't know if she did already or not. I didn't see it. I'll put this here. This is for her YouTube channel. And you guys can go check it out. Make sure you could open another tab right now and subscribe so that you always get it, and ring the bell. And of course, make sure to check out the Duke, World Bigfoot Radio, his channel, always putting forward new and amazing videos of the Sasquatch and cryptid phenomena and so much more. I mean, he's got a whole laundry list of things he covers over there. So check it out. Puts a lot of work and love into what he's doing, and your support is awesome. And of course, our friend Cade out of Australia, Believe podcast is amazing, and he's a dear friend of ours as well. So we've got this really cool community of hopefully we're supporting each other and helping each other out. And I may forget to do that at times, but I just want to take a moment now and point those shows out, because these guys are working really hard, and they're putting together these great shows, and the more support and love they can get, the better. It makes us all happy. Secondly, yesterday I was contacted by the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, and they asked me, "Hey, Brent, would you be willing to do a voiceover for our trailer for the Amazon Prime release of our documentary, Bigfoot, Walking with the Wild Man, the Irish Bigfoot phenomena?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I was working with them, and we came up with a script together, and I'm really thrilled that I got a chance to do it. Lo and behold, I wake up today and I got a copy of it. They sent me a link and said, "Here you go. Thank you so much. It was great." Oh, I know you are, Moog. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's awesome, brother. It really helps. I mean, word of mouth is the biggest thing for sure. So they sent me a copy of the trailer, and I thought I would start out tonight's show by showing that to you guys. So that's what we're going to do right on the front end here. So hold on to your seats, and we'll watch my very, very first voiceover ever for something that wasn't the Paranormal Portal. So I hope I did okay. I think I did okay. I've been getting a lot of wonderful feedback. Thank you guys for that. But here is the trailer. So we're going to watch this now. Buckle up. We're going in. Okay, so here we go. And action. For centuries, legends have been handed down through generations of the things that move in the darkness of the wilds. These legends were warnings of large creatures who lived just beyond the shadows, waiting for the unwary. Today, there are those brave few who are willing to look past the shadows and are determined to unmask these legends. The Bigfoot of Europe, the Woody Wassa, Wildman, or Woodwose may be new to some, but if you look into history, it's far from new. It's a little-known fact that there have been reports of Bigfoot-type creatures all over Europe for centuries, and this documentary film will take you to Ireland, where the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization go in search of these elusive creatures. Are you ready for the truth? I'm not sure why it ended abruptly like that. It wasn't supposed to, but it did. So that's anyway. If you want to see the full version of that without the abrupt train wreck ending, head over to the facebook.com/paranormal portal radio. I've posted it there, but I don't know why it just stopped. That's weird. It's been playing great throughout the day, so I don't know. But that's in a nutshell. That was my whole spot, but they did just a brilliant job putting together this trailer with the visuals and stuff, and mixing my voice in there. You're watching a copy of a copy of a copy, and it's streaming from Facebook to me here and then backed out to you guys there. So maybe it's not the best quality, but the video that's on the Facebook, I think is perfect. It's just beautiful. So I was really honored to be a part of that project, and I'm really honored to have an opportunity to announce that release to the U.S. audience on Amazon Prime. So check it out. It's just amazing. It was just amazing to be a part of it. So thank you again to the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization. And you guys are awesome. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you much. But that was that. That was that. Let me try to find my mouse here. I don't know. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. You should be able to see it on Amazon Prime. Oh yeah, Duke, if you don't have Prime, then that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But Can I do a Bigfoot call? I've never done a Bigfoot call. I've never, Ken, here's the thing. I don't know what I think about that. I kind of think that, you know, we probably know when another person is talking, and we know the sounds of the people that we know, and we know when other human beings are talking. And I wonder if when we do those howls, if we are really truly approximating the tone and the the delivery like a real Sasquatch would, or if they hear that and go, oh, there's another human doing that crap. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. I've had mixed feelings about doing calls like that. I think it's, people have claimed to had some amazing responses from doing that, and I suppose that's possible and probable, but I don't know. Yeah, Nessian. I'm so not a big star. Come on now. You're going to make me blush here in my own show. No, it was just a lot of fun to be a part of it. I was really honored and I was really proud of the end result. And I just was excited to share that with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, Kate. That's something I thought of long ago. What if you're saying, hey, your mom wears boots? you know, you don't know what you're hollering to them. Hey, you guys suck. So you don't know what it is those things are supposed to mean. But that's, I guess you got to pay the price then if you do that. But anyway, that's all we got on the front end. I hope you guys enjoyed that little intro. But let's get to it here on the Night Terrors. I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. Actually, Ken, I think your Yowies and our Bigfoot would just team up and beat us all up. I don't know that there's one tougher than the other, to be honest with you. Geez, the power that these things display is just off the chain. It's off the charts. So whatever they are, I'm going to try, Bomber. I'm going to try to put you to bed. I'm trying to, I can't say what I was going to say. That would just be a little over the top. That'd be a little over the top flirty, and I can't do it because I always try to be really appropriate, but you got to know these things are right on the tip of my tongue, just like, anyway, the trials of being a host. What do you do? All right. My eye's kind of burning. Sorry about that. Let's get to some stories. I got some stories pulled up for you guys. I hopefully will have done a good job pulling them up. They are just pulled at random from several sites. So we're going to get into those and hopefully we get some good ones. I'm sure I read that one. No, I didn't. Okay. So the first one tonight is coming out of Florida. I don't believe I read this. Let me just scan through it. I know No, I didn't. I don't think I did. No, maybe I did. Shoot, I'm going to close it because I just can't be sure. I can't be sure if I read it or not. Here's one that's coming out of Colorado. Colorado, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get a lot of them out of Colorado, but I don't know how densely populated Colorado is. I'm sure there's plenty of weirdness going on over there. There's, of course, been, lots of history. Lots of incredible history going way, way, way back into the Old West and beyond, even to the First Nations ages. So I'm sure there's been a lot that's happened in Colorado. Man, this is really bugging me. Sorry. All right. So let's go to Colorado and see what we can get into here. My apologies as I as I get ready to actually start reading. Okay. This is less of a story and more of a question. The question as to if it were a real haunting. I'd say I've experienced my fair share of paranormal things, but I'm still very unaccustomed, I guess, when it comes to determining if something is actually supernatural or not. I suppose it doesn't really help that I'm a naturally paranoid person. So anyway, that's where your opinion comes in handy. Some friends and I went up to the Great Sand Dunes last month for a birthday, end of summer camping trip, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Though it seemed like everyone else seemed to have the same idea as us, We went camping the very same weekend. The campgrounds at the sand dunes were completely packed. Also, we weren't too eager to camp there if there did happen to be a opening, just because each respective campground seemed to be 10 to 15 feet from the next. We decided to stay at a place maybe a mile and a half back called Oasis Campgrounds. They happened to be much nicer and much more secluded. After driving around a bit, we decided on a spot and started unloading the vehicles and deciding where to pitch the tents. And my boyfriend and I found a nice flat spot near a tree, and we started getting to work. Having not been camping in a very, very long time myself, and my boyfriend not since he was about 5, we had to buy all new camping gear, which is awesome. Brand new tent, sleeping bags, etc. And the tent had never been removed from the box or the plastic ceiling prior. We finished putting up the tent and placed the front mat on the ground, and I stepped away for just a moment to grab a rock or something to hold the mat down, and I came back a second later, and the mat had blown a couple feet or so in the wind. Well, I grabbed it, and on the bottom there was a absolute perfect, dirty footprint of a person. It was a bare footprint of what we determined was a woman because of the shape of the foot. Now, there was only 3 of us there, me being the only female, and all of us were wearing our shoes, and it was fairly cold out, and not exactly the most comfortable place to be walking around barefoot, so needless to say, we all had our shoes on. The mat, again, was just out of the box, never stepped on by any of us, with or without shoes, and my boyfriend, being freaked out by this for some reason, decided to throw the mat in the trunk of his car, and after a while, we just forgot about it and continued with getting a campfire started and whatnot. Well, after a while, my boyfriend and I headed off for bed and fell asleep fairly quickly. Late in the night, we had to be, I think it had to be about 3 a.m., and I heard footsteps around the tent. At first, I thought it was my friend, but the sound of the footsteps, I determined there was no way it could have been a nearly 6-foot, 190-pound man. They were very small and very quick. I thought it may be an animal like a fox or something, but it just circled the tent continually. And then it stopped near my side of the tent and sounded like it was rubbing 2 rocks together and then banging them together. I listened to this for about 15 minutes, and when I decided to wake up my boyfriend and ask him if he heard the same sound, well, he did. And it would walk around the tent several times and then stop on either side and scratch and bang rocks together. At least that's what it sounded like it was doing. We both lay there listening to it for what seemed like an hour. Finally, I decided that it was there for so long that whatever it was had no intention of harming us, so I made an attempt to get back to sleep. What really terrified me was when I was sitting up listening to it, it sounded like it was on my boyfriend's side of the tent, but the instant I put my head down, it sounded directly behind me. My boyfriend confirmed that the same thing happened to him. Well, neither of us was able to fall asleep that night, and we sat there listening to this until the sun started to come up, and it just disappeared. The next day, we told my friend about it, and he said he had heard something walking by his tent too. But it wasn't nearly as freaky and only lasted a couple seconds. Well, that day, 4 other friends came and met up with us at the campground, and my boyfriend and I decided to move our tent to another location, not only because of what had happened, but also because the ground was just painful. Our other friend put his tent in the place that we had it previously, and honestly, the second night was more of a party, and if there were any strange occurrences, we weren't paying any attention to them. We tried to keep the footprint on the mat intact, but it was put back away with the rest of the camping gear, and if I thought there was any chance of it still being there, I would pull it out and take a picture, but I'm sure it's not there any longer. I didn't have a camera with me at the time, which for numerous reasons was a mistake, but I digress. Now, keep in mind, this story is from 2008, so, let's see, where was I? There it is. Okay. What would you call this? Someone told me the footprint might have been from someone that previously stepped on the ground, and due to moisture, the mat picked up the prints. I've never heard of that, though, and the mat was just placed on the ground. There was no pressure on it to pick up something like that if it were possible. Could the sound have been an animal? But why was it circling our tent for so long? And what was the scratching and banging sounds? Someone suggested it might have been a haunting from a Native American. Any ideas or information on this would be awesome, so thanks for reading. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very bizarre, whatever it is. Could be Native American, could be somebody was camping there. If there's water nearby, drown. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you just grab onto whatever you can to try to make sense of stuff like that. But we need a Deb there. We need a Deb Varner there to tell us what's going on. Because, I don't know. It's just all speculation. But, yeah, it sounds bizarre. Lots of bizarre in this world, ladies and gentlemen. That's why the show never runs out of material, because there's just so much strange crap going on, which is good, I guess, for business. Okay, I'm pulling up a bunch more, so we got a bunch more stories to roll through here. This one's coming from Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin, that's a state I grew up looking at all the time. I lived on one side of the Mississippi River and looked at Wisconsin just about every day. Back in the summer of '87, I purchased a house on South Franklin Street in Janesville, Wisconsin. It was an old Victorian 5-bedroom built somewhere in the 1880s, and it had been empty for several years and was in quite a state of disrepair. Other than the roof, it didn't appear to have been updated and needed a lot of repair. The first thing I did was ran a water pipe to the toilet in the main floor bedroom closet so I could have a functioning toilet. I took my daily showers at my parents' house several miles away in Milton. And next I cleaned up the yard to keep the city off my back, and then I decided to completely gut out 4 of the 5 main floor rooms. The kitchen, the dining room, living room, and the bathroom, and I removed all the old plaster and lath down to the studs. I left the light fixtures and switches hanging so they were still usable, and each of the 4 rooms had a single bulb hanging for the light. The front parlor was in decent shape, so I cleaned it and used it for my bedroom. It had a 4-foot wide sliding pocket door between it and the living room, and a regular swinging door to the vestibule. I'm not sure what a vestibule is. I know I've seen the word, I just don't know what it is. I lived in the house through all of the mess. My 2 brothers helped with the destruction. And every other Wednesday night, was my turn to host our poker party for friends at work. And there were 4 metal folding chairs that came with the house. So there were plenty of chairs, and there were 3 were tan, and 1 was spray painted red for some reason. Sounds made up, I swear it's true. Nobody ever mentioned anything strange about the house, and I take that back. My young niece was afraid of the house and would not go inside. It just looked spooky. Basically, everything seemed normal. I never really believed or disbelieved in ghosts. I just had never had any reason to really wonder. I also was not a very religious person at the time. I was, however, afraid of the dark. Pretty funny for a 22-year-old guy that weighed in at 250 pounds. One night while at work and showering at my parents', I came home and went to bed just like I had many nights before for a few months. And I'd unlock the back kitchen door and turn on the kitchen light, go in and close and lock the door, and then I'd go through the kitchen and turn on the dining room light, and then turn around and go back and turn off the kitchen light, and then I'd go to the kitchen, through the kitchen and dining room, and turn on the living room light, and then go back and turn off the dining room light. Then I'd go back through the dining room and living room and turn on the parlor bedroom light, and then I'd go back and turn off the living room light and go in the parlor/bedroom, slide the big heavy door shut and shut the light off and go to bed. Just when I was starting to get comfortable, I noticed a light coming in under the big door. Well, I got out of bed and opened the door, and all of the lights in the house were on except the parlor. Well, I was terrified, but I went all through the house checking to see if anyone was there. The front and back doors were still locked. Even the lights in the upstairs bedrooms and bathroom were on, and even the basement lights. The basement door was still boarded. You have no idea how hard it was for a scaredy cat like me to check the attics and the basement after I finally calmed down. I shut off all the lights and went back to bed. This was the first of 3 experiences I encountered in that house. I'll post the other 2 in another story. Thanks for reading. Hope this wasn't too long and drawn out. I guess we can read the other ones since we're at it. There's links for them. So let's go to the next one. And it says, this is a continuation of my first story, my house on South Franklin Street. Please read it first if you haven't. We already did. So in the first part, I left out an important part by mistake. Remember I said there were 4 metal chairs, 3 tan and 1 spray painted red? The part I forgot to mention was that when I slid open the bathroom door and all the lights were on, or the bedroom door rather, the red chair was unfolded and sitting with its back against the door. It's been on the other side of the living room by the window when I went to bed. Why someone or something chose to move the red chair still gives me goosebumps. And was it guarding me in the room or was it trapping me? It's just creepy. Okay, now for the second part. The situation was pretty much the same as usual. It happened when I came home and went to bed, and this time I heard loud footsteps on the bare wood floor in the living room. I'm in bed with the bedroom door closed, and I yelled, "Who's out there?" And the footsteps paused for about 10 seconds, and then I could hear them again for a few more seconds until they stopped. I was so scared. Next, the big heavy door slid open about 3 inches, and then it felt like somebody walked or bumped into the side of my bed. Well, I did what any normal 22-year-old guy would do. I pulled the covers over my head so I'd be safe. I laid there in the dark, petrified, until I eventually fell asleep. Nothing else happened that night. I can picture a spirit standing there laughing at me because I was so scared and covered my head. When I woke up in the morning, there was a hard lump under my pillow. The little pistol that had been in my nightstand drawer was under my pillow. This was not my doing. How I got there, I don't know. And I'm pretty sure in this situation, a gun wouldn't do a lot of good. When I got out of bed, I noticed that the round plastic feet of my bed frame were moved about 2 or 3 inches out of their indentations on the carpet. Well, I slid the bed back into place and laid down on the bed and grabbed both sides of the full-size mattress and rocked it as hard as I could back and forth. And I could not get the box spring and frame to move. Only the mattress would slide, so I'm sure it wasn't me that moved the bed while I was in it. Then I checked the whole house again and found nothing. The front and back doors were still locked. Later that day, I took my pistol to my parents and left it there. It wasn't much later than that. I lost my job and ended up having to let the house go back to the land contract holder, and the 4 main floor rooms were still gutted out. This is the third part. About a year later, my brother and I were driving past the house and noticed that the realtor who had purchased it and remodeled it was having an open house. Of course, we had to stop and see how it turned out. We went all through the house, and it was pretty decent, kind of generic, but nice. I asked the realtor if he had anything strange happen to him while he was there. He shushed me and led me to the kitchen, and he told me not to let his wife hear anything like that. I started telling him about my first encounter when all of a sudden the garbage disposal on the other side of the kitchen came on by itself. It stayed on for about 5 seconds and then shut back off. The switch on the wall had not moved, and we all agreed that was enough talk, and my brother and I left. Even with the strange things that happened there, and as scared as I was, I never really felt threatened. I was not afraid to go back into the house, and I still go past the house occasionally, and can't help but wonder if the people living there have experienced anything unusual. There you go. That's pretty wild. Now, if you ever want to ramp up activity in a house, start working on it. Start working on it. Start gutting rooms and stuff. If it's haunted, you're going to bring something back to action pretty quick. Why is that? I don't know. I don't know if by remodeling a house, if you're fundamentally changing the energy of that house, I don't think that spirits are just standing there, just in a. I don't think that they're just. Well, I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm trying to think of this. I think that there are some instances where these spiritual presences that are stored in the house, whether they are just fragments of people that live there, or if they are the actual souls of the people that live there, I don't know. I wonder about that. But I think if they're fragments, these fragments kind of go into a limbo state. They just kind of are there. But then fundamentally changing the house may awaken that energy and cause them to come back to life in a sense. I don't know. I'm trying to understand this because I have a few theories floating through my head about this. But it's just a fundamental constant in paranormal investigating that if you remodel a house, if you change a house, if you work on your house, if there is a spirit present, that's when you're going to know it, because what may be subtle activity before will become much more profound and energized. Now, it could be by virtue of the fact that by tearing out walls and stuff, you're releasing a lot of energy, and maybe these spirits can use that to ramp up their activity. I don't know. But it is just really, really consistently brought up in the paranormal that working on a home will definitely ramp up activity for quite a while. I don't know if if it then settles down after a period or if it just stays ramped up. I don't know. But very curious stuff for sure. This person also wrote a couple more, and since we've already covered two of their stories, let's cover these other two. This one we will do now is called, it has to do with the last hug from his mom. My mother lived in the lower level of my house for the last 2 years of her life. She was suffering the entire time from liver and kidney disease, and she wasn't a drinker. The doctors thought she may have contracted cirrhosis from blood she received while giving birth to me in the 60s, and they said blood just didn't go through all of the tests then like it does now. She passed away in the hospital on March 14th, 1999 at the age of 63, and I miss her so much. Do you hear that clicking? Several days later, my two brothers and I were going through her things, and we had already moved several things out of her bedroom and living room. I looked down at the carpet and saw the indentations where her favorite chair had been. Well, I bent over in the empty space and put my arms around her where Mom would have been sitting had she still been there, and I said to my brothers, "Look, if Mom were still here, I'd be hugging her right now." Suddenly, my whole body began to tingle from head to toe. My hair stood on end, and I felt like an electric current was going through me. It was very warm and comforting, so peaceful, yet so overwhelming I cried my eyes out. I knew right then and there that I was being hugged back by my mom. My brothers wouldn't try it to see if the same thing would happen. My mom was the kind of woman that when you visited, no matter what the mood of the visit was, good or bad, she always had a hug and a kiss for you before you left. I can hardly believe it's been 10 years. I love you, Mom. Oh, that's beautiful. And there's one more from this same person. I've already posted on the psychic. Oh, there's a psychic experiences site. Okay. Let's see. Here's a little information about me. I suffer from deep sleep apnea, or just sleep apnea. I added deep all by myself. I don't know why. And nearly every night I wake up not breathing. Nothing is blocked. Just the automatic part stops for some reason. And all I have to do is make myself breathe. After several minutes, everything is fine and I can go back to sleep. I do, however, toss and turn somewhat constantly because I just can't stay comfy in one position for very long. I look at the clock quite often. There are a few reasons why I believe what happened next is more than just a dream. I dreamt that me and a female, not sure who she was, were walking along a country road, and I could see the green fields and trees on each side of the road and a beautiful blue sky. The mood was pleasant. All of a sudden, everything changed to sepia tones, brown, tan, and black, except for the sky. The entire sky turned pure white, and was getting brighter and brighter, and the air was filled with the sound of static electricity crackling, which got louder and louder. Scared, I started to run one way, and the girl ran the other way. And we then both stopped, looked at each other, and then ran towards each other. She ran into me and was knocked down into the ditch. The noise and the light were so intense, and that's when I noticed that an even brighter light was shaped like a cylinder around me, and I was being lifted off my feet. Well, I was terrified, and I think the terror was what woke me up. The moment I woke up, I felt my weight falling back down onto my bed. The intense light took several seconds to slowly fade away, and I looked at the clock. It was 6:30 a.m., and I lay flat on my back, and it took me about a half hour to fall back to sleep. I didn't wake up again until 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and I was still flat on my back, and I was very comfortable and felt refreshed. It was the best 6 hours of sleep I've had in a long time. Does anyone have any idea what I experienced? I'd like to hear your opinions. Oof. Well, Jim, the author's name was Jim. It sounds like you nearly got abducted. I don't know. I mean, it could be spiritual for sure. I don't know about the bright light though. It does sound very much like an abduction scenario, but I don't know. Very strange. Could be spiritual. Again, I think that's the problem is when you really start diving into the UFO phenomena and the abduction phenomena, there isn't a lot of difference sometimes between abduction scenarios with UFOs and entities and spiritual beings. There's like almost a blending of the two phenomena where it's hard to tell which one is which. But I mean, it's either one or the other, I would guess. But very, very strange. I just think the bright light makes me think maybe it was more extraterrestrial. But again, anybody's guess. We just don't know. We have no idea what the hell's going on there. Okay, so those are all the stories from Jim. And thanks, Jim, for all your amazing job recording those. That was really cool. Very cool stories. I don't know Jim. I have no idea who he is, but he did a really good job. Let me see. Now this one is... Okay, this one's different. Has to do with children who see spirits. I've been known for saying that we never know who our real teachers are. We have an idea of who is qualified to teach us on a variety of subjects, but surprisingly, the one that gets the lesson across is usually the one that we least expect. A few nights ago, I had such a lesson. Those of you who have read some of my other submissions may notice a distinct difference in the writing style, and this is the best way I can see to let you all in on a night in my house. I have a 5-year-old who often comes to sleep in between my husband and myself, and there's something in his room that is noisy, and if it wakes him up at night and he cannot get it to be quiet, he just comes to our room for a bit of quiet sleep. Generally, he doesn't wake his daddy, and we have our most revealing conversations during this time. I've interrupted sleep, so sometimes we just use the time to talk. As my son and I are laying in bed, we were staring up at the ceiling fan, and out of the blue, he whispers to me, "You okay, Mama?" "Yeah, are you?" "No, but I'm little. I got lots of problems." "Like what?" "I get treated like a baby." "Oh, I hope you don't think Mama does. I try to treat you like a little man." "I know, but sometimes big people forget." "Well, it is hard. I only met you 6 years ago, and that makes you young in my book." He says, wow, this is profound. He says, "Time to turn the page, Mama." And all I could do was let out a surprised guffaw. I really was not expecting that comeback. Thinking of something? What do you think? Yep, you are fused. Yep, Mama read some stuff today that I'm having problems processing. It's about the white and black areas, and when the heck did they become gray? Oh, gonna ask something? Do you mind? Nah, I got lots of time. Well, Without telling you the entire conversation, which I think you would enjoy, I'll tell you what light was turned on in my mind. We checked on out the ceiling fan and the shadow it created on the ceiling, the lack of light behind the door, and the shadows on the wall and the ceiling beside the window. Now, I asked my son about shadow people. I saw a story on a site that confused me, as I have no real experience with them. I have a book knowledge, but that form of knowledge has been found to be lacking in some other areas. He pointed to the nightlight and said something to the effect of, "The light around the light is a reflection. A small ways away from the reflection, it melts into shadow. For the rest of the wall, all of that is in the shadow." I pointed to the shadow that was cast on the ceiling from the window, and I pointed out that the tree outside looked a bit spooky. It looked like the tree was 10 feet higher than it actually was. With the school being across the street and the light coming through the window makes it easy to see anybody walking by, trees, cars, and even if they are on school property. My son looked at me, and I just sprouted the most hideous appendage. "Mama, for real, you think that is the shadow from the tree?" I pointed out that the tree is in front of the house and the light from the pole, and he pointed out that if the window and the window casings had a tear off, like in the NASCARs do, that you could just peel off a layer and slide it up the wall without changing its position, just lift it off and slide it up. That would be the reflection of the light from across the street. The tree also lifted and slid, and that I thought to look spooky was only the bottom of the branches that I was seeing. It was a shadow of the tree. The darker shapes around the tree, around the slits of the blinds, were also shadows, but of the curtains that I had forgotten to untie before bed. The shadow that was waving in the breeze outside and beside the tree, but seemed to overlap it, you know how the shadow gets darker when it's an overlay of them, was not outside. There was no breeze. "See, are your branches moving, Mama?" Not outside." "Of course it is. How would it get there? The only light in the house at that time was the nightlight on the other side of the room." My son called to it, and he said, "You can move now." And it did. He said, "Could you wiggle?" It did. He said, "Why are you here?" It seemed to sit. At this time I had inched myself up on the pillows and onto the back wall of the room, crawling on my back and feeling like I was not moving quickly enough to get out of that room. I was scared out of my mind. I have never heard anyone tell a story about communicating with a shadow. They see them out of the corner of their eyes. I have too. They have told it to leave, but it did not respond, and here my 5-year-old was asking it questions. When my son was done talking, amazing how he never woke Daddy up, the shadow seemingly stood and returned to where it was before it got our attention. I looked at my son and told him that there are nights when I hear a light, very quiet tapping against the wall. I tried to climb. Does it sound like beads tapping the wall? Yes. I also told him that there are nights when I swear I hear a car door. Tell Dad to go check it out. What am I supposed to? Check out possible visitors at night to find that no one is around. And I told him that I hear someone opening a pop can, you know, the click shh that comes when it opens. And tell Sissy to stop sneaking pops at night. Is it right outside your door? Yes. Why would Sissy open it there and not in the kitchen? I hear the dryer door at night. Occasionally the back door is standing open when it is shut and locked. The sliding door seems to open and close on its own, only at night. What's the question, Mama? You know why? Who? I whispered, staring up at the shadow, lest it jump down and attack. Do we have to know who we are here to help? Well, no, not if our heart is in the right place. Guess we live in the right place too, right? Oh yeah, buddy, now go to sleep. You're scaring me enough tonight. Smiling through that whole last sentence. He dropped off to sleep quickly, and I sat, never slid down of that wall until daybreak, up watching the shadows. Huh. That's an interesting story. I don't know. Could it be real? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That's really, really profound. That kid's if it's a legit story, that kid is pretty profound. He's way ahead of most of us. That's intense. Very intense. Could it be a fabrication? For sure. For sure it could. I don't know. It's sometimes funny, the Minion says some things sometimes too that seem to defy his age. Just observations he'll come up with that are just like, wow, how do you see that? How did you notice that? And, like the old saying, out of the mouths of babes, some of the most beautiful things can come. So I just guess the key is to remember to listen. So often we just dismiss them. They're these little people that really don't understand a whole lot. But sometimes that's just a place to find some of the most amazing, beautiful things if we remember to listen. All right, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool story. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. Is it real or not? I don't know. I don't have an opinion. It sounds out there, but is it possible? Yeah, I guess. Everything's possible in the paranormal. Here's another one by the same author, and this one is coming from Indiana. It says, one of my closest friends asked me a question here about visions that he had been having. Some of the pictures confused me a mite. That's what the language they're using. So I asked another family member's opinion on them, and what came out was a lesson, a beautiful one at that. I learned best by two methods, one being living through something and the other being hands-on. I'm going to explain it exactly as it happened, even the conversation as is what occurred. My son Frank, it's okay. He granted us permission to share his lesson. You are growing. These are growing pains that you are seeing, and some of the pictures that you can see are pictures of where you once were. You do not remember them because you are old, and when you were young, all of this was in your life, and all those people, all those places, all those feelings were yours, and now you have to group them. You have to find out where the people fit into the places, all of them. You were with sometime, and you just have to fold the pages. I asked him what fold the pages means, and he said something to the effect of, get a piece of paper and draw a picture, and then when you get it all done, wrinkle it, bend it, fold it to make a different picture out of that same picture. The folds are our lives. There may be hundreds of folds in our pictures, but it always looks like a picture. No matter how small, just as in life. They may be small, but they are still life. So I took out a piece of paper and drew the front of the house. Not that it was a great picture, but you could tell it was supposed to be my house. It was sketchy at best, but I was trying to get a feel as to what he was saying, so what the hey, I'll give it a try. I folded the picture in half and looked at my son. Yep, that's it. Except you need to add more folds. That is not your first life. I just stared at him as he calmly looked into my eyes. No thought process, just staring at him. Go on. Okay, so I folded it again and glanced in his direction. He just shook his head slowly. I folded again, glanced at him, folded it again. And when I was done folding what I could, I held out my hand, a ribbon of paper 8 inches long, and all that was discernible was the corner of the roof, a smidgen of a bush, and a sliver of a window. Oh, by the way, the folds do not have to be in half. And then half of that half and half of that half, fold the paper any way you want to fold it. George explains why in a little bit. As I'm staring at it, he must have frowned or shown some sign of what the, except not all lives run on the same line. Sometimes they go cross and hide other lines. No, wait, what? Just then, Daddy walks in, and we're so wrapped up in school that we didn't even notice him standing behind us for a moment until my son says, why don't you ask Daddy? And looked over his shoulder, and I've always been told that I have expressive eyes. It is a curse because in that people can see if my smile is genuine. If I truly understand what they're saying, or a big old question mark should be painted there in John Deere green. All I did was look at my husband. He saw the picture and listened to my son and asked our daughter her opinion and stated the closest distance between two landmarks is a straight line. The closest distance between two lives is a direct connection. Well, this is pretty This is pretty weird for a ghost story. I think it's profound, but let the 5-year-old teach me. I understand him. He picks up a blank piece of paper with me chiding him. What? You do not want us to see a beautiful drawing, and then performs origami. He takes his index finger and thumb and picks up the thing at the central fold and says, "This is the point of creation. All the other folds are the point of existence. The parts that matter are the flat pieces on the paper, all of them. Open up the paper." I struggled to do so. There were a lot of folds in it, and I was trying not to tear the paper, and that was in symbolism of his lives. I didn't want to cut one short. I smoothed it out on the desk and looked, and at my son, but that made Daddy feel real good. I don't understand. Count them, Mama. That's how our lives are. See that little star? Putting his chubby little finger on that spot in the center fold once was. That's where Daddy began. See all the different lines going out? That's where all of our Daddy's lives. See the flat parts? Those hold what Daddy did in those lives. Ah, now I get it. Yeah, except, no, I don't. So Daddy drew a racing picture and performed another origami thingy, and at the end you could see some of the lines that he had drawn, and he handed me the thingy to our son. See those parts of the picture? Use your memory and tell me what they are. I did, and that's the bumper, and that's the tree behind the car, and that's the road, and that's the driver, and so forth. What is the car, Mama? A mode of transportation and escape from our real world for your daddy. Threw a big smile in Daddy's direction. I will not tell you the look I got in return. Bet you could guess that one. How did you know? Okay, I don't know. I'm sure it's a beautiful story and a beautiful lesson, but I'm almost done, so I'm gonna just finish it. Now imagine that you just knew. You just wake up one morning and you know things that people don't. You know people that you shouldn't. You can do stuffs that you couldn't aforebed. Patiently and peacefully he stares at me. I know I gave him a look like, what the heck does that have to do with Daddy and Daddy's pterodactyl that he just folded out of paper? In Uncle Frank's sight, wait a minute, we were talking about me, not Uncle Frank. Then he sleeps. When he sleeps, he is traveling on the folds. He stops to visit other flat spots. He needs to see where the people and places fit in the flat spots. He goes there. He just needs to remember. Palm slat to the forehead. Now I really got it. I hugged my son and told him thanks for Frank and for me. Long way for me to explain this all out, but my son is convinced that we needed to map it out for his uncle so that he knew exactly what the folds and such looked like on paper. My husband agreed, saying that the old ones use a string to help in the visualization process. Because of the lax, free-moving properties of string, when you pinch it off, both my son and husband agreed that it would be easier understood by physically holding the paper. With a map drawn like that, how could you miss the point? It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful symbolic story, for sure. Is a little kid actually saying this? I don't know. Again, it's possible. There are some incredibly profound children out there. If this child was really out there in 2008 sharing stories like this, he's, I'm sure, destined for some potentially great things in life because he's already way ahead of the game. Could it not be real? Sure. It could not be real as well. And then it's just a really pretty story. But I have trouble with stories like that because, they're just these collections of this dialogue that's so pristine and crisp. It doesn't read like a story anymore. It reads like a creative writing project. I think it's, still has a beauty to it, but it doesn't really fit the Paranormal Portal, and I'm sorry for that. But I hope maybe we read it because somebody needed to hear those things. So we'll just go with that philosophy for now because I don't know. It's anybody's guess. But hope you enjoyed it all the same. But it's a great story. But is it real? I don't know. Whenever people write so concisely, expressions and everything, did they record this video and then go back and narrate it? How do they have such perfect recall? So that's where I kind of trip up and go, well, The beautiful symbolism either way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to detract from the beauty of it, but those are incredibly well written and concise. Like, as if you're standing there, and maybe she just got a good memory. I'm not sure what's going on. But this one's coming out of Indiana. Haunted places. I submitted a story about a haunted trailer, and this is what followed after that one. We decided to move in with my aunt and my mom's sister, and she lived in what was once a rest home for the elderly. She was a wild person. She liked to drink and spend most of her nights out on the town. She had 10 kids, and them, myself, and my family lived in her house. She rented real cheap. One night, my mom, my aunt, and my other aunt went to the bar and left us at home with my cousin, who was 18, and able to babysit all of us. We were watching a scary movie on TV. We just love to be scared. And it was getting late, and our babysitter told us to go upstairs to bed. And after the movie, everyone was afraid to move. But we had to do what we were told, so one by one, we marched up the stairs. We had to go by the bathroom that was at the top of the stairs, and everyone said they would see things in there, but I was yet to see anything. One of my cousins said that they saw a pair of glowing red eyes, and another one of my cousins said that they saw an older lady with really long, thin hair standing at the doorway. Anyway, there were 5 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs, and that's where my mom and my aunt slept, and 2 of the cousins and myself weren't able to go to sleep right when we got in bed, so we decided to talk about things from the past, like the trailer we used to live in and the old farmhouse they used to live in, and we both have had such creepy experiences. When we were getting ready to doze off, we heard someone screaming. Not for sure what was being said, but it was really loud, and we decided to get up and go downstairs to investigate. And as soon as we got halfway down the stairs, we looked over the railing and saw 4 little old ladies sitting on the couch, and they had nightgowns on, and they were facing towards the TV. The weird thing is that my cousin, who was babysitting, was sleeping on the couch waiting for our moms to get home. She was sleeping on her stomach, and I guess she didn't feel them on her. We were scared out of our minds, and we started to run back up the stairs, and the bathroom light was flickering on and off, and the old lady with the thin, long hair was standing in the bathroom door. My cousins that were with me were the same age as me, started to cry, and we felt stuck, and we couldn't go downstairs because of the old ladies, and we couldn't go back to our room because of the other old lady in the doorway. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed one of my cousin's hands and shut my eyes and ran for the bedroom. My other cousin was still on the stairs, screaming at this point. My cousin who was watching us came flying up the stairs asking my other cousin what was wrong, and she proceeded to tell her. And while by that time there was no one anywhere, and she didn't believe us at all. That's about the time my mom and my aunts came back, and we were verbally fighting. One of my aunts had a cross necklace around her neck, and when she started fighting louder with my mom and other aunt, the cross necklace fell off of her neck, still clasped, and her eyes started rolling back in her head. My aunt grabbed her right before she fell to the floor, and my aunt that lost the cross on her neck started speaking, and I guess you could say devilish words such as, oh, I can't say that, just a promiscuous woman starts with a W. And I'm going to kill you and let me go, and in a tone that was not her own. My family didn't know what to do, so they just let her lay there until she came out of whatever she was in. At the same time all of this stuff was happening, the fireplace went up in flames, and it didn't even work. Things started flying off the walls and the shelves, and it felt like the house was shaking from the inside. About 10 minutes later, my aunt got up from the floor and asked what happened. No one said anything. No one really knew. She got up and went to her bedroom, as did everyone else, and decided as long as nothing else happened, we would discuss everything in the morning. We, my cousins, got up when we saw the light outside, and no one slept, went downstairs to see what was going on, and sitting on top of the garbage can was a witchcraft book. No one touched it, and when my aunt got up and came into the kitchen, she wouldn't talk about what happened the night before.
She told us never to talk about it and never bring it up again. That was just one incident of the rest home, and there are a few more things I'll tell you later. Thanks for reading and have a nice day. Wowza. That's pretty bizarre. I wonder where the witchcraft book came from. That's just laying around. I guess the kids probably wouldn't know and nobody would have told them, but wow. Or was someone playing around with something? I don't know. Again, I think witchcraft, in its traditional sense, is not a dark craft. It's a nature-based craft. So, but unfortunately, it gets a bad rap because of a lot of people with, in my opinion, you can believe whatever you want. If you think that stuff is evil, then more power to you. And you may be right. I can't say I know for sure, but as I understand it, I'm not a practicing witch, so I don't know that much about it. But it's just, as far as I know, it's aligned with natural practices, herbology, the lunar and solar cycles, and seeking balance. So there shouldn't be anything dark and nefarious about it. They do acknowledge spirits, but they don't. Traditional witchcraft doesn't condone trying to play with dark spirits and things like that. So there are other practices that do, and that's another deal entirely. But I don't know. Very weird. So this is a sleep paralysis story. I don't mind sleep paralysis stories, but we hear so many of them. And they're all horrible. I've experienced sleep paralysis, but I'm going to skip this one for now because I don't know. I know what it feels like, and it's horrible. But we've done about 11 zillion of them on this show, and they're all the same thing. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't move. There was something sitting on me, pressing me into the bed. It was choking me. It was, with its face right in front of me. It's kind of, there's a few variables, and you switch them in or out for each story, and it's all the same thing, and it's horrible. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a terrible, terrible thing. Like I said, I have experienced it, and it's a terrible feeling. But, I think we've covered it to death on the night terrors especially. So let's go to another story. And this one's coming from Mississippi. I've been having strange dreams. These dreams happen early in the morning when I'm in a dream state. When this first happened, I felt something pressing on the bed next to me. At first, I thought it was my husband getting back in bed, but when I opened my eyes, nothing was there. I would feel this and open my eyes each time, and eventually, I just decided to ignore the movement, and that is when I felt it press the bed against both sides of my body. I continued to ignore it, and then it started hitting the bed to make me shake and wake up. Well, sometimes I feel like I'm already awake, but other times I'm just not sure and insist that I was asleep. It never happens when my husband is in the bed, only when I'm alone. I decided to start getting up when my husband leaves for work and get on the couch. I've never felt anything on the couch until recently. About a half hour to an hour before I have to wake up to go to work, it does the same thing on the couch. Well, this morning when I got on the couch to sleep, I was dreaming about something non-ghostly, and suddenly I felt a tingle on the top of my head, and I heard a snicker. I felt my legs get cold, and I tried to move my arms and couldn't. I tried to speak and couldn't, and this is how I know I was still asleep. I was forcing my eyes to open and could still hear the snickering. While I was forcing my eyes to open, I could see a green image kneeling down by the couch by my legs. I was fighting to wake up and whispering screams, "I can see it," and praying it would go away. I wake up completely and my whole body is sweating except for my legs, which had goosebumps on them. It felt so real, but when I woke up, I see or hear nothing. What is going on? I'm so scared to sleep now, and I want to say it's just dreams, but they just feel so real. Yeah, that's terrible. That there's terrible. I went over an hour. Did you guys know I went over an hour tonight? Well, I did, but that's just my love right there for you. And my love of doing the shows, but that is our show for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Thank you all for being here, and I'll be back tomorrow for the 2-hour show. I hope you guys will join me. The phone lines will be open as they always are. I forgot to announce that tonight, but I think you guys are pretty used to these night terror shows. But the phone lines were open. You could have called in, but you chose not to. I will be back tomorrow, and then Don will be joining me on Saturday. So we'll be looking for you guys then. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. That's going to do it for us tonight, everybody. Good night, and have wonderfully sweet dreams.